Right, and so I'm just going to quickly share, not that one, some data with you from Ben the day. And if you saw the post, he's a rugby player and he's looking to do an Ironman. So really he came to me just to see where he is in terms of his fitness levels, but also whether or not, well, also to see his zones and also really to highlight any weaknesses that he may have. Now, on the face of it, you might be thinking, this looks like a pretty impressive athlete. And he's got a VO2 max of 58, okay, so it's very high. He's anaerobic threshold. So remember, VO2 max is the size of your engine. Anaerobic threshold is how much the engine it's working, so how well tuned it is also a very high percentage. So he's got a big engine, it's working really well. You might be asking, well, what's the problem? Why is he not actually that good at this kind of endurance work? A couple of things that we need to look at is, one, we look at running economy. So when I kind of plugged the data into the dashboard, what we saw is that his running economy for, firstly, running economy is kind of what's the oxygen cost at submax speeds. So say like race pace, when you're training, how much oxygen are you having to use to do these certain speeds? Now, more is not better here, less is better. We want to be efficient. Imagine that oxygen is your, say, currency, and that if you're expending loads at kind of these low intensities, it means you're going to run out of steam earlier on. And as we can see with Ben, he's got very high running economy. So 265, we're looking for sub 200. So he's having to use his shed load of oxygen, kind of energy, to run at relatively slow speeds. So that's kind of one obvious weakness. The other one is we need to think about the actual activity that he's training for, which is an Ironman. And we know that this type of activity, or any very long distance activity, is going to be in and around this aerobic threshold. And I've spoken about this before. This is the point where you just start producing lactate. You begin to say it goes from like an easy to a moderate intensity. And this is kind of the domain really where you're going to spend most of the time when you're actually doing your Ironman. And what we can see with Ben is that around about 125 beats per minute, around about 38 milliliters per kilo. And when you look at these numbers, they look good. However, when we look at his speed, he's only running 8 kilometers per hour, which is pretty much a shuffle. Now, he might be running something similar to this when he does the Ironman, but it's definitely something he needs to improve. And when we look at his fat burning, it actually looks pretty good. So it's not until kind of the crossover, it's not until about 140 beats per minute, which again is normally very strong. So even though his fat burning might be good, he's still having to work or produce lactate at these kind of lower intensities. So just going back to what we've seen, even though his engine's big, his ability to use, say, or how well his engine is tuned is very good. We need to look at running economy and also spending more time at these lower zones. So it's to improve kind of running economy, there's so many things at play here, but it's things like losing weight. Again, bigger guy, carries a lot of muscle mass, probably could lose some of there. Work on things like technique, even kind of shoes, maybe kind of cadence as well, but that's where kind of a coach will come into play. So there's definitely things to work on there, but also he's going to be having to spend a lot more time at these lower zones. And this will come from training because he's fairly new in. So yeah, excited to see it. I think he's clearly got the basis of a good athlete. However, he's probably more geared towards high intensity work. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops over these next few months before his big race next year. So if that's interesting to you, and if you've got any kind of events coming in, if you want to know where you are, get in touch, get booked in, and we'll get something done for you as well. Any questions, let me know. Right, and so I'm just